There you go.
All right, off and running.
We're off and running. Part two.
Okay, welcome back everyone to the new Football Uncensored podcast. We're Kirton again asking the questions. John Sitton once more providing the honest and forthright answers. Going to try and pick up where we left off at a little bit over the weekend, last couple of weekends football. Big game yesterday, Newcastle Liverpool. Very very late change of outcome. Quite an intense game. A lot of talking points. John, you managed to watch the highlights. I think you didn't catch it live.
No, not live now. No, no.
Quite the swingometer on the game. Newcastle started off probably dominating it. A couple of questionable decisions, and well, a lot happened from there. So I know you want to talk about it a bit. So start us off.
Yeah, no, all it was, I was looking at it. I just think to myself, they're probably, well, it goes without saying, it's a foregone conclusion that expectations have been raised with the money coming in and the investment. But I still think that what will separate things will be like know-how and a bit of class that Liverpool had. They just had that little bit of extra know-how, that extra little bit of class. I know they're going to go there. They're going to be under the cosh. They know there's going to be a hostile crowd. They know that Newcastle are going to get wide into them. You see the first challenge, which should have been a booking for Gordon when he's ended up he's chasing the water touchline, I think, with Alexander Arnold, pushed Alexander Arnold in the back.
Yeah,
Give him a nudge. Let him know he's going to be in for a game today. Maybe slid his foot in as well. He's gone over. And then the Liverpool kids got done for dissent or retaliation, just like throwing the ball in. You know what I mean? Which to me it didn't make sense. It was a nonsense. Then you look at the next one when he's actually never applied the brakes. He's come sort of across as Gordon's already into his stride, and he's pushed it by him, and then he's brought his arm up across around here, and then he's gone down like he's been shot. As in Gordon did, and that should have been a clear-cut booking. But it's already on a sticky wicket because he's already booked him for dissent, retaliation, whatever it was. Right, so now he feels obligated to maybe balance it out because he got the first thing wrong by not booking him. And I thought he got a break there. He got a big break there, and that probably could have set the thing for the rest of the game. Then you look at, I'm not sure that Van Dijk should have been a sending off.
yeah, I'm still not convinced. I'm
Nah.
still not convinced either.
To be fair, he did come through his legs to get the ball. So you could argue that he's made contact with the player first, but with the pace that Van Dijk's got, and with the two recovering defenders either side, one who was basically caught, let's say, under the ball, even though it was threaded between, and then I think it might have been Robertson coming round. I'm not sure 100%, but anyway, it's definitely a recovering defender coming round. Is it really a clear-cut goal-scoring opportunity? But what
It
hit the nail
depends.
on, I'll tell you what hit the nail on the head for me was Newcastle at the back for the two Liverpool goals. When you're coaching through phases of play, talking as an ex-central defender myself, if there's no pressure on the ball, you know the line's high, you know you're square, you're more or less square. First thing to do is drop out at pace, get the work done early. I always used to say recovery runs, get the work done early. Right, if you're retreating into your box, get the work done early. This was higher up the field, but what you do, you drop out quickly and you get the work done early, so you could see the ball and the man. And what's happened was he's level with the man. Dare I say it, maybe even slightly in front of him. And Salah was with the when he put the threaded little pass through. All right, one, it got tangled up in his legs a little bit, and he maybe
Yeah,
could have got away with it, and it might have bounced in front of him instead of down the side of him, and he could have maybe cleared it. But I don't think it comes to that. I don't think it gets there. Talking primarily, although I could get away with playing full back and even had some good performances in central midfield for Peacock at Gillingham. Primarily as a centre back, what you do if you're in any doubt, you drop out quickly, and what he used to say, he stick assess the marking. he went on to work with a lot of top players at a lot of top clubs. Funnily enough, he had a stint at Newcastle under Bobby Robson, worked for England. I think he'd done a bit for Birmingham, Manchester City. But he was a really good coach. He said stuff. It basically sticks with you forever. And in that instance, he say like you got to drop out and assess the marking. And my interpretation of that would be to do the work quickly, make sure I could see the ball, the man on the ball, as in the ball, and my immediate opponent. So if you can see them both, which Newcastle couldn't, and they got tied in knots, they got caught flat, they got caught. Another word for getting caught square. They got caught too high up the pitch, too close to the ball with no opposition on the ball. You're on into nothing. When you look at the pace and the power that they possess. Now, the flip side of that coin, they could have been out of sight. Let me tell you why. When you're talking at the higher echelons of the game, and you're talking about certain players in terms of their former clubs, I'm talking Harvey Barnes. I cannot for the life of me work out what he was trying to do and what he was thinking when he broke down the left, right? So listen, when he used to do it at Newcastle, I do beg your pardon, at Leicester, before he came to Newcastle, you had Vardy, who always gave people a marking problem. So he'd do that darting run, where he'd threaten the side to and then get across, and he'd be zigzagging all over. So what happened? You'd have the person marking him and you'd have the person covering him, right? So it might be two centre-backs. It might be the centre-back and many occasions the nearest fullback, right? Well, that would release Barnes and give him a lot of space and a lot of time to break into the box, maybe the channel inside the box, right, to get a shot across, and he would hit the target, maybe score 1 in 3. Hit the target with the other one, maybe the goalkeeper would make a save or he'd hit it wide, right? Now, yesterday, if you look at him, and they were talking, so the point I'm making is they were talking about him in terms of England. This is why when you're looking at the higher top echelons of the game, prospective international class, this is what makes the difference if you're a coach or a manager. And this is what makes the difference between England and opposing countries, right? When he broke wide on the left, virtually unopposed, right? But he's taken a touch which allowed a couple of Liverpool players to make recovery runs in behind. There was still a tremendous amount of space. All he had to do was just fade a nice soft ball in behind, a retreating Liverpool back 3, and Callum Wilson would have had a tap in, and they would have been out of sight. So that's the difference. That's what I mean by the difference in being ready for what's coming in terms of an hostile crowd, a bit of pressure, a bit of physicality, and then that extra touch of class with regards to your decision making. That was the difference yesterday for me.
Well, 2 players you mentioned there for Newcastle, Barnes and
Anthony Gordon.
Gordon, thank you. Yeah, his name went right out of my head. Gordon. So he started all of the first 3 games, I think I'm right in saying, and Barnes has come on as sub for him at the sort of traditional sub making time.
Yeah.
And Gordon, obviously, a bit of a reputation as a bit of a lad, if you like, and a bit of a live wire. But he seems to have started the season really well. And obviously, you got the goal. And Barnes, as you've highlighted there, I don't think he had a bad couple of first games. But levels, etc. And yesterday, he probably should have done better with that cross and the form that Wilson's in.
Well, he didn't even make the cross. He wanted to try and get it under control, and he saw the headlines. He saw Harvey Barnes. It clinches it for Newcastle. You know what I mean? When what you do, you're getting the headlines while making the headlines for your club, and pure decision making. Totally the wrong decision at the wrong time, and it was set up for that. Yeah, I couldn't even begin to understand where he was coming from, because to me the picture was there, simple, and what you do you just fade it in behind, and he was already in position. He'd have just had a little tap in the side foot. Callum Wilson would have had a side foot. Anthony Gordon, I'll let you into a little thing. When they were talking about the England squad for the last lot of championships, I wanted him in as a wild card, and I'll tell you why. He's the type of player you'd love to coach, and I don't think he's been coached well enough in terms of how much damage he can actually do, right? And again, I'll pick this up from coming up against them in pre-season friendlies and watching stuff being taught, as it were, but during the game situation at Arsenal. And what it is, he's got blistering pace and energy, right? But my thing with him would be to mix it up more. Anthony Gordon, right? Because I think he runs in he plays in straight lines. It's like tram lines. What he's got to be taught to do is maybe every now and again have a little wander, have a little wriggle across the front line, or if he's going to use that pace and power and make a definitive run, an angled run across the front. So he's playing in off the front man as part of a combination between when you teach combination play between the nearest midfield player, the nearest winger or wide man, and the nearest forward. Combination play between those three, right? And then the added bonus with that is actually clearing the space for a rotation, be it with another midfield player, the nearest midfield player, or a fullback. Right? I just think he plays too straight up and down. And instead of find a way, like I saw on one documentary concerning the manager, teach him the way. Show him the way. Show him the first way, the second way, the third way, and the fourth way of how much damage you could do. Then it's down to the player to be taught to recognise and then be able to recognise. So he's running instead of being coach reliant on playing on autonomous basis. Yeah. So it all ties with patterns of play. I just can't help thinking he could bring so much more to the party.
He's 100% got the pace. You know, they love the modern game loves a stat, and they love a stat on match of the day with they can find him on everything. And I think it was either this week or last week, possibly last week, because they played City last week, didn't they? And he was up against Kyle Walker, who's obviously no slouch. And I think they highlighted that Gordon was quicker on the pitch than Walker, and Walker's well known for being one of the quickest in the league. So, you say, he's got the pace. Yep. He seems to have the confidence, which is obviously quite a big thing. But he's only, I mean, what was he, 20, 21, if that, young lad, and with the right coach, who knows how far he could go. It'll be interesting to see. I think I 100% think Howe signed Barnes to be the starter on the left for Newcastle this season, and Gordon to be the backup. I think, my humble opinion. But first 3 games, for me, next week, Gordon gets the start again. He's outplayed Barnes for me the first few games.
Yeah. All I'm saying, I think he could bring so much more to the party. I think he's got to be taught not to play in straight lines, to make different runs. Then when he gets in positions to get more shots off, your priority is to hit the target. When that comes on a consistent basis, he'll score more goals.
Yeah, like you said, also decision making as well. You said at the start, when you were talking about Alexander Arnold being booked for a little throwaway of the ball. You know, what was less than about 5 minutes, less than 10 minutes certainly into the game, and Gordon's, he's shoving him over, which is obviously a blatant foul, and this day and age, a yellow card. He's massively got away with it, as you say.
Yeah, he did get away with it. Yeah, the wrong guy got booked, and then he's made it up to him when he should have got booked. He never got booked because it would have meant the sending off.
Yeah. So a lot of potential, it's fair to say, for Anthony Gordon, and you seem to be a fan.
Yeah. I think he could be a tremendous player. I just think he could bring more to the party, but I don't know. I mean, maybe is it the players or is it the coaches? You don't know. You can never put your finger on it because you don't know what's going on behind closed doors on the training fields. You don't know what he was taught as a kid, if he was taught as a kid. So some people make their way in the game, Rob, and it's been going on for decades. Some people just make their way in the game through sheer athleticism, not because and they're head and shoulders above people because they're powerful, more powerful, they're quicker, and they find themselves in a situation, arriving in space, and then do something simple or something clever with a ball on a consistent basis, and they end up they become have really long pro careers. I just think if you've got that as one of your assets, you've got to be taught how to use it. It's no good having it. There's far too many players they've relied on their pace, and there's far too many players who have got pace but have never been taught really how to use it properly. The ones that have, they have unbelievable careers, accompanied with fantastic stats. I'm thinking in terms of like maybe Kanes, then going back to your Owens and your Rooneys and people like that, because they were clever with it. I just think he's got to be helped, and he could be more clever with it.
I'll be interested to see how he goes this season. Hopefully you're born out to be right. With Liverpool, obviously, Nunes came on late doors and scored both the winning goals. He's been maligned, might be a bit strong, but he didn't have the greatest of debut seasons last year, and he started this season on the bench because Klopp's obviously they're doing a little bit of a rebuild. We touched on with a brand new midfield, and the forward line's changed slightly with Firmino going. But he came on yesterday, and to be fair, he took his chances extremely well. 2 tremendous finishes. Could be a turning point for him. Where do you see? I mean, Liverpool have got, I wouldn't say an embarrassment of riches. They've got a fair few to choose from up there, up top.
Yeah,
Salah, obviously, Jota, Diaz.
Yeah, they've recruited well in midfield as well. Let's say they deal with him being out with suspension, Van Dijk. But my personal opinion, if they can keep it going, when you look at it was almost relief. When you look at the feel-good factor after the final whistle, it was almost tantamount to relief. You know, we've put one of our main rivals at arm's length a little bit with that win. Supposedly on paper, according to the media, etc., etc. We put them at arm's length. And I can't help thinking that it will be the usual suspects, as in them and Arsenal, hopefully, that will give City a run for their money. I just think it seems to me it went a little bit flat, and now they've recruited, they've got some new blood, and then at the same time, he looks like he's, in terms of his body language, as opposed to last year, right? The manager, there's that feel-good factor back, and it looks good. It looks buoyant. Let's say buoyant. Yeah, so yeah, I'll fancy the dark horses in terms of like being the main threat to City. I don't know. It's still very, very early. You know what I mean? But if you've twisted my arm up my back, I would say that's quite possibly where it come from. Because, you know, if you go off at a slight tangent to the Arsenal, they shouldn't be dropping, all due respect, shouldn't be dropping points at home to Fulham. And I think that's like a little bit of arrogance. I think it's a little bit of, yeah, it's all right, we'll manage, we'll do all right, tinkering with it, trying to be Pep light. Yeah. Arteta trying to be Pep light. I'm going to a little bit in his defence, because I've always defended him. I always said he'd be all right, leave him alone. I always stuck up for him when they were calling for his head 14 months ago, whatever. Idiots after a few games, or when they got the spanking. That was it. They got the spanking at Brentford. They wanted him sacked already. Well, what he's got is the added problem, and I still don't think they've recruited in the right areas, but he's also got the added problem in Champions League this year. So that distraction. So now he's spinning a lot of plates. You know what I mean? He's got that thing. He's got to try and relay that belief that he's got in the players, borderline arrogance. He's been tarred in one of the media outlets as Pep Light. And he's also got the added thing of, like I say, the Champions League. So he's got 3 more plates. He's got to be spinning all at once. Whereas I think you just pick, as near as damn it, your strongest team in its best formation. I couldn't make out what it's other than that, other than sheer arrogance. You know, but putting one of your best midfield players in a fullback position, I don't understand it apart from the pattern of play. Do you know what I mean? But that's so in effect, it's a pretend fullback who's really a midfield player, and the only reason you can get away with that is because you are a midfield player, right? But you've got to see the movement. And we need bits and bobs for, like they got on the telly, or a flip chart for me to show you what I mean. But that's the only way I could draw the conclusion that he'd think they'd get away with it. And he come unstuck.
Yeah. Maybe we'll graduate that. Maybe we'll get a whiteboard, and maybe in time we'll get one of those telestrator things and draw over the screen. Who knows?
What I do know is either Rice has got to realise how tight it is, right? And as it comes towards him, he's just got to do that little dink round the corner right, into the space behind, because you know they're going to be compact, right? So dink it round the corner so using the airspace, dink it round the corner behind Fulham, right? Or as in the case he gave it to Saka and sold him a little bit short because it was just a little toe end. Then Saka's got to realise, woof, hold on, we could be in the car here, right? And what he does, he sends a little one round the corner or into the front man just to get them up the field. Without a shadow of a doubt, they overplayed. And it got pinched, and then the next thing you know, whether it's a miss it or not, he got beat at his near post after 57 seconds.
I mean, Arteta's he's always going to, no matter, I think no matter what he does, even if he wins the league or wins the Champions League or something similar, he's always going to be cast as Pep's boy, isn't he? Or what? Or choose your term. He's always going to suffer from that to a degree, especially when the media jump on things like, what do you call it? Pep Light, was it? He's been someone's coined him, especially when once the media get something like that, they're not going to let go of it, are they? Until he does something superb to shake that off. So he's always going to suffer from that, unfortunately. But going back to the All or Nothing documentary that we both watched, he came across as very impressive there, and came across as, I thought, as his own man rather than trying to be like Pep. Obviously, there's elements there because you're going to pick up elements working closely with someone like that, aren't you? Surely you've got greater insight than me on something like that, though.
Without a shadow of a doubt, yeah. And then they were talking last night about how much he does for the LMA and how he helps other managers and helps other coaches, as in Pep. But at the end of the day, you still got to be your own man. And I think people have been blinded a little bit by the football, the results, the emphatic results, the attacking football, the style of football, the patterns of the football, which Sheffield United came very close to nullifying. And it's the first team I've seen do it. Apart from Gary Johnson's boy, when I think they played him in one of the cups. I thought Sheffield United were absolutely, in terms of their thing there. He actually said it. They were 99.5% of the way there. But against City, you've got to get a result, especially. And he said, I'm paraphrasing, obviously slightly, but they were at the top of their game. Which shows how well we played, the Sheffield United manager was saying, because they had to be at the top of their game to get a result. Well, Sheffield United are the first club I've seen in terms of how they set up defensively and getting people around the ball and overloading it towards the ball, right? That actually nearly led to them getting a result. So in terms of Arteta, what I would say to you is this, right? It's all very well being an idealist, but there comes a time if you're going to win things, and this is where I think this is the point I want to make about Pep, right? There's still a massive degree of pragmatism involved, right? You've got the practical elements of decision making in tight areas, in what is a bad area for you, in terms of giving the opposition a goal start, in terms of not giving yourself a mountain to climb, going a goal down at home after 57 seconds, which could have been avoided, etc., etc. So you've got to, as much as anything else, you've got to teach the players, coach the players a degree of pragmatism. You understand what I mean? And I think he probably does that. But it's been this, as in Pep does that. But there's this smoke screen behind that's been built up behind like unbelievable open enterprise and attacking football. Yeah, I was very impressed yesterday with Sheffield United. Very, very, very. I said it's about time. Effing
I think it's
time,
fair
I
to
says to
say.
myself. It's about effing time, I says to myself. You know what I mean? But Rob, it is about time when I see how they think. And out of very quickly, I think out of the ones, if they maintain that level of discipline, commitment, competitiveness, desire, I think they're probably out of the ones that came up, they're probably the ones that got the best chance. I disagree with what was said last night. They're talking about Burnley. Someone said Burnley left the belt. I don't see it, because they've got the same problems as I had when I was a manager. They're vulnerable. They're vulnerable at the back. They've got a semi-decent midfield like I had, but they're vulnerable at the back, and they've got no goals in the team, or not enough goals in the squad.
I think it's very fair to say, because I watched Sheffield United versus City. I watched it live, and I've watched Match of the Day, and I think it's very fair to say that Sheffield United executed their game plan almost
Perfectly.
almost perfectly. They lost
Yeah.
the game, obviously, but they almost perfectly. And you've outlined what it was there. And essentially, it was men around the ball and men around Haaland. Let's be honest, who they rightly perceived as the main threat. But we were talking about Arteta being one of Pep's lieutenants, and we're talking about Sheffield United playing City yesterday. Leads us nicely into another topic we wanted to discuss, which was early. Again, it is very early. We stress that early candidates for teams that are going to struggle and might be getting relegated. And obviously, Vincent Company is a ex-Man City captain, so big links to Pep, manager of Burnley. They've lost twice. Sheffield United we've touched on. Luton we spoke a little bit about previously. Had 2 spankings already. So there's obvious candidates there. There's 1 or 2 others, I think. But who do you see as being the early strugglers?
I think Luton have finished bottom. It's just the way it
Struggle to
goes.
disagree with that.
Yeah, I think it's just the way it goes. I think he's just got to do the best he can, like he did the other day, to carry himself as media friendly and maybe with a bit of dignity. The manager. Then I would say it's looking at it, it's a big toss up between Burnley and, dare I say, even Everton, for the simple reason I only include Everton because I don't know where the goals are going to come from, which is the same problem that Burnley have got. They look like they might concede. They look like they might crack under pressure. I've been in a situation like that myself. You try and set the team up as best you can. But if the best you can hope for is a 0-0 or maybe a 1-0, then you're on a sticky wicket, right? Because there's not enough goals coming from not enough areas of the team. And you saw that with a 1-0 defeat against Wolves. Although they had a couple of good chances, they've actually got no one out and out who can put the ball in the back of the net. The thing they got in their favour, Rob, is the fact that he's used to it. Having been Burnley manager, ironically, Sean Dyche has been in that situation where he can actually dig a team out and grind results out. And Nick like maybe a little run of 1-0s and 1-1s and 2-1s and 1-0 and 2-1 and 1-0, by the odd margin. Burnley, I just don't see it. I think they look vulnerable at the back. Last night, post-match interview was all kidology. I wake up in the morning and I smile because of the players I got. I reckon I think it'd be, if the truth be told, much more alarmed at things than that. Because again, I don't see where the goals are coming from in the squad. And it's all very well playing a certain way. It's all very well being an idealist. But like I said, it's always got to be married to a large degree of pragmatism. I just can't see where the results are going to come from because I don't think there's enough goals in the team. And then that leads it inevitably to pressure and at the back, and you crack. You will crack. If the best you can hope for is a 0-0, I played in teams like that. I managed teams like that, and it's a lot of pressure for the players concerned, and it's a lot of problem solving on the part of the coach. It's a big ask. You can't keep asking managers to perform miracles. I honestly don't think he's. I'll tell you, here's a little thing. What might get him out of jail over the next few days is a bit of old pals act. He might be able to get players in on loan from an ex-club that might lead to him being a bit more creative and have a bit more of a chance of winning a game.
Yeah, might be able to get what's his name? I think it's Cole Palmer. He's played a few minutes for City this year. Obviously, we're talking Burnley here still and Company of the old
exactly
pals.
right. Yeah.
They need goals. They need a bit of attacking flair.
Yeah, but then you've got to think of the player. If I'm him, I wouldn't do it.
No, I wouldn't fancy
I'll turn it down.
personally.
Yeah, you get better by being around better players. First team or not, you'll get better by being around better players. Yeah. So I think most certainly Luton, Burnley, Everton, they're in the equation. Sheffield United might be there or thereabouts. It depends whether they can string a few wins together. I'm saying that going on yesterday, based on yesterday, they've got every chance.
Oh, Everton haven't even. You say they're struggling to score a goal. They haven't scored one yet. 3 games, three blanks, and haven't really. I mean, they had one disallowed against Wolves, but they haven't really looked much of a threat. The other one I thought possibly, but then I think every year is Bournemouth. They've obviously tried to do a bit of a change of direction with a new manager. He seems to have a bit of a new style of play. They've signed a few players, but they haven't started brilliantly. But then every year they seem to prove me wrong. I thought they were dead certs last year, and Gary O'Neill,
Yeah,
to a degree, bailed them out. Not on his own,
yeah.
obviously, but he had
Well,
a
I
big.
think this year could be a different case, and I like to think it would be, because I think how they treated O'Neill was appalling. Yeah.
Shocking.
So yeah, it's shocking the way he was treated, and yeah, but I suppose that's football management, isn't it? It's a thankless task with a lot in a lot of instances, and that was one of them.
Well,
Yeah, I
you
think
know
that's a
about
good call.
most.
They'll be there or thereabouts. They'll be there or thereabouts, because I can't see them putting like big runs of results together.
No,
Yeah,
yeah, could be a question of playing for was it 17th out of those four clubs we've mentioned.
yeah.
I saw a company's interview, and I've watched. Um, there's a documentary on Sky, Mission to Burnley, and it focuses on their promotion season last year from the Championship. And it's an interesting watch from an objective point of view. But some of the stuff you've said here about companies' interview post match last night, you can, it seems to be I don't know, rehearsed stage, where that's the right way to put it. He was saying a lot of those things in the documentary, and you can see a bit of it is flannel for me. And you said idealist. Sometimes you've got to be a realist as well, haven't you? I know you're not going to throw your players under the bus on TV, but you don't know what goes on behind closed doors. But yeah, I just think it was Shearer who said, "Oh, Burnley, they'll be the best. They'll have the best chance the promoted clubs of staying up." Is he just saying that because they've got company, and it's he's the big name, and Sheffield United and Luton haven't got a Mr. Sexy foreign manager? Is that just a lazy lob from Shearer, or does he genuinely think that? I don't know.
Time will tell. I don't think it probably ain't gone into it in great detail, because at the end of the day, if you're gonna be vulnerable at the back in the Premier League, you're gonna get punished. If you've got no goals in the team, you're gonna get punished. Where do the results come from?
Yeah,
So it don't take the brains of Lloyd George to work that out. Yeah, probably the case.
if,
But I
if
think the
you've got
pragmatism side, it gives Sheffield United every chance.
if you got both of those problems, you can't stick it in the net and you can't plug the league. You're pretty
Recipe for
much
disaster, mate.
yeah,
I've been there, believe me. Believe me.
yeah. I was going to say, you know better than most that situation. Right, we're coming. It's again unbelievable. We're coming to towards the end of the time on this session. Uh, just quickly, Brentford and Crystal Palace are probably the only two London clubs we haven't touched on. They played each other at the weekend, played out a 1-1 draw. One thing they've got in common, they've both lost a talisman this season. Ivan Toney, obviously for betting reasons, and Zaha, I think, has gone off to Galatasaray. They both started the season reasonably well. Do you see them? Do you see them sort of as mid-table mediocrity, not really threatening the trapdoor, not really threatening Europe, just sort of plodding along, or
Yeah, it's
do you
about
see
right.
anything else?
Yeah, no, it's about right. But it's just they'll probably end up where they should end up in terms of budget. Very quickly in terms of players lost. Um, One of them sort of rebuilt his career, if you like, but then let himself down again with the gambling side of it, allegedly. Um, but tremendous amount of self-belief. I saw in a newspaper interview he quite liked the thought of playing at Arsenal, which I don't see.
I think
Um,
Chelsea.
and then in terms of Zaha, I said a long time ago that Palace would be better off without him. But you start getting involved in things on Twitter, and then you ain't got. It's like now, like you just ain't got the time to keep giving your whys and your wherefores and your reasons and explaining every in fine detail. And then when you're a manager, you don't have to, and you shouldn't have to. You know what I mean? You got to go with what you think. But I honestly believe that as much as he had all these assets, and he was could be a big threat in terms of going forward and a get out get out of jail card with his pace or creating something or nicking a penalty or a free kick or breaking in behind. A lot of teams sussed him out. I still believe.
I agree.
I still believe it's about a lot of the time moving the ball as quickly as you can. And it doesn't matter how he could catch pigeons, but it doesn't matter how quick you are. A couple of passes is always going to be quicker than someone running with the ball. And I thought a lot of the time he's not slowed them up. That's a contradiction, but he sort of held them back in terms of enterprise. And I think they'll probably end up where the budget tells them that they're going to end up and where they deserve to end up. And that in the case of Brentford, definitely, it'd be a case of overachieving. But we'll see.
We'll see. I think you're probably right.
Yeah,
I think you're probably right. Okay. Again, thank you everybody for tuning in. Keep adding the comments. Keep watching. Send some questions in if you like. But thank you very much for the support so far.
Cheers, John. Rob. No worries. Yeah, at least it's brought us up to speed. We managed to recover from last week, scratch the surface last week, done a little bit this week, so at least we're up to date.
Yeah, lovely.
All right, mate. Thank you very much for your time.